Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to our Prolonged Fast podcast history series. Today we are going to be going through the 1910s and 1920s. With
Yep,
us
yep,
here
yep.
today are Zide.
Hello,
Yeah.
hello.
Yeah.
Hello,
Woo!
Victor.
everyone.
We're doing
Woo!
the yep, yep.
And Engin.
Hi, everybody.
Whoopee.
Woo!
Do we need to do
Bravo.
that like every time?
Every time.
Yes.
Oh, can we just say like here we have Victor, Zayed, and Engin. Let's begin
Nope.
this.
No.
Every
We have
single
to do like
episode, viewers
That's
need
so
to be
rude.
reintroduced.
like it's the new. I think we can just like skip introduction sometimes. Like just I don't
No.
know, make it like make them confused. Let's
I
not
think
even like
that's
have an introduction for an episode.
just
Where
to
it's
go
just like
straight into the
straight
topic.
into the episode. And then we end it after like 5 minutes. That's the episode.
Okay,
Wait.
so let's begin.
Yeah, what's we're doing about?
Hmm.
I
We're
just
doing
Whoa, almost
you
as...
weren't listening.
I wish there was someone to introduce
Oopsies.
us to the topic of the episode.
1910s, 1920s, right guys? Right guys?
Woo!
Uh-huh. I'm glad
Sir.
that you were listening.
Thanks guys. Let's begin this shit. Nicholas, I'm sure you have strong points about this era of existence.
Well, I have
No,
strong
I'm quite
points about
indifferent,
like halfway
actually.
through the era, but the right at the beginning, I'm not as versed.
Versed, really? But we studied this a bunch.
Well, yeah, but like right at the beginning, 1910, I'm not sure.
Oh, like
Does
beginning,
King
yeah, I don't
George
know
the
what
Fifth
happens.
die
Yeah.
earlier?
George the Fifth, who's that man?
Not George the Third.
No, sorry, not King George the Fifth. King
That was-
On the 5th of Edward
King
VII,
George
his son George V became King of the United Kingdom and the British Dominions, and
King
Emperor of
Edward
India.
the Seventh. When does he die?
Like,
He dies 1910.
I told you, 1910.
6th of May, 1910. So that's a big one.
And then the coronation of
Uh,
George, man, takes place on the 22nd of 11th.
Yeah, which
Of
I
June,
mean is
of-
relevant
of
in as so far as like
1911.
he's of course one of the grandchildren, I think, yeah, grandchildren of Victoria, which is also true of Kaiser Wilhelm and of Tsar Nicholas. They're all like Victorias. Basically, there's like King Christian the Tenth of Denmark and Queen Victoria, and between them, like all European royalty is somehow related to them.
Before we begin the episode, guys, if you really like big booms and terrific chaos
What?
among the populace, please hit that subscribe button and
Wait.
smash
Guys!
that
Wait,
like
wait,
button.
wait,
We
wait.
already have an intro.
We we do not condone explosions anywhere.
I do.
Victor specifically, not this podcast though. That's the personal opinion of Victor.
Yeah,
I mean,
moving on.
he's
No.
looking kind of dapper here. Gotta
No
say.
big boom, please.
Who?
Let me
George
send
Fifth?
this in. Yeah, we need to. Can we make a Can we make a thing for this?
Yeah, I can make
episode?
that.
So I can look at them. Yeah.
So
So
George the Fifth. Who is he?
He's
George the
king.
George the sorry, George the Fifth is the one who becomes king once Edward the Seventh dies. George the Fifth is the one that remains king until
1999.
right before I think 1936 he died.
Bro,
And
these
then you
people
get
lived
like
like
Edward
2 years.
Edward the Eighth, or like half a year or something, and there's
Oh,
the whole abdication
hell no.
crisis, and then Queen Elizabeth's father becomes king.
Do you know that George
Ah.
First of Greece died?
What?
Everyone who is king has died.
Nah, there's still. Ah, she died.
No way. Wait. Okay. I have to just send this in as well.
So, anyways, so other things that we've discovered, the Titanic, of course, 1912.
Boy Scout
Are we-
Association was
are we-
founded in 1910.
Are we like going? Are we going over the big thing that happened? Or are we just going like
We'll get there, but like, let's try and do some like setup.
some like
Wait,
some
these are the
side
guys?
quests?
Is that seriously a
Guys,
different
guys.
person?
That is a different
did
person.
different
That's on the
people.
bottom. That's Tsar
Oh
Nicholas
my
II,
god.
and on the
That's
top,
King
that's
George.
King
Oh
George
yeah,
V.
they were the
Yeah, yeah.
really similar people, right?
Yeah, they used to switch like uniforms and their advisors
Oh
couldn't tell them
yeah.
apart or whatever.
It
Like
looks
it's I think the
so
difference is that
similar.
like King George's
Like
eyes are
Padme
a little
from
further
Star
like
Wars.
apart.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
suppose
basically.
so.
But like uh
You
like
remember?
they
Yeah,
do
I was
look
trying to
basically
think
the
of like
same
the
though. It's
person that
actually
was
kind
like
of
that.
creepy.
Took me a second to remember.
Bro.
That's so disturbing. You can tell like even
They
the
literally
lines of the like cheeks, like
It's
where the
so
nose lines kind of go
uncanny.
down, they're the same
their
lines.
their hair position is exactly the same.
Yeah.
They all have
All
like a
you need
little.
is like a
They are,
little bit of basically the only
they're
difference is
both
the eye.
balding.
I think maybe it's because King George is like looking directly at the camera and like
Mm.
Tsar Nicholas kind of looking to the side.
Mm-hmm.
But like King George's
I
eyes look a
think
bit crazy. He has
And
kind of crazy eyes in that
also,
picture.
Tsar Nicholas is like farther away. If he was closer, it'd be even more
Yeah, he's a
similar.
little like further off.
Oh wow, they look the same. Yeah.
Yeah.
A legit same person.
Who's
It's
that guy on the
amazing.
Who's the guy on the top?
That's
That's
King
the
George
father of King
V.
George the Fifth. That's
Oh, Edward
Edward the
VII.
Seventh. Yeah, that's
My man.
Oh,
look at
on
him.
the very
He's
top,
having a good time.
Edward the Seventh.
Oh yeah, guys.
Okay.
So your favorite film, Titanic, was recorded in 1912,
What?
April 15th,
This is
where
true.
the
Do not
real
fact check us.
where real life about 1,517 people died.
The
They're on the
film, the bloodiest
all
film
real.
ever.
Yeah, everyone was recording.
Who was it? James Cameron? Yeah, he wanted
James
the film to
Cameron.
be realistic,
I
so he
mean,
killed
no,
everyone
no,
on
Engin,
set.
you joke about that,
No.
but there's literally that's gonna happen. I don't know if like the actual film gets made, not the Titanic, but a different one, a Soviet
Uh-huh.
film about the storming of the Winter Palace, I think, and like the
Mm-hmm.
revolution. More people die in the scene that simulates the storming of the Winter Palace than in the actual storming of the Winter Palace that actually
Oh,
happened during the
Oh,
revolution.
how is that
When they were making
possible?
that movie, more people died because no one
Are they
died when they stormed the
using?
Winter Palace. Basically, there was like two people or
Oh,
something. So like, there more people died during the actual like reenactment of it. So that actually,
oh,
unironically, that kind of stuff does happen
Damn.
that's so
because it's just this
sad.
like wacky, wild world of the 1910s.
I don't think anyone died while filming Titanic. Good thing on their part. Well, actually, no, 1,570 people died. Sorry, guys. My mistake.
what?
Yeah, what are you talking about, Lister? Huh?
Wait.
Did you guys know that the Titanic crashed? Where did quiz time, guys? Where do you think Titanic crashed?
Into an iceberg,
No, but like where specifically on the geographical map?
Atlantic,
Isn't it near like Canada or something?
What do you
Or
think,
is it
Zed?
near Greenland?
the North Atlantic.
Zed? What's your idea?
I don't know. I feel like it would be
You're the
quite
last
close
person.
to America.
Okay, you and Engin were quite close. It's right next. Engin was actually spot on. It was next to Canada.
Yay.
Nicholas was very far off.
What did Nicholas say?
That Atlantic.
Oh.
The North Atlantic. What do you mean? Google it. Where did the Titanic sink? North Atlantic
Yeah,
Ocean.
he was right. North Atlantic.
Nah,
I
doesn't
was
No.
count.
correct.
You said in the ocean.
I did the smart thing of giving the larger answer. You don't like give specific like,
Oh,
ooh, is it near Canada?
where
You're
did the
like, no, no, no.
Titanic
Say North
crash?
Atlantic Ocean. You're
Earth.
never wrong.
It crashed in
Yeah,
Earth.
it's not wrong.
Stupid answer. That's why I
But yeah,
avoided.
so you have the Titanic, which is a huge L moment for ships. Ships could have been better, I guess. There's a whole thing like the the locker with the like key to the binoculars. Like the key had been taken because some guy was fired and he forgot to return the key. All sorts of weird
Oh my
stuff happens
goodness.
there. But yeah,
No.
it
Actually, I have
crashes.
no idea.
Everyone
I have
dies.
no idea how the Titanic crashed. I know it crashed by an iceberg, but like the processes that happen inside.
I think there was already an
that's
engine fire before
Yeah, there
the
was
ship
already
went
like
off.
problems with the ship.
So that's why it was
Oh.
able to sink. Because normally it wouldn't sink unless like two of its ballast tanks were like full or something. But because one of them was already weakened, when it scraped against the iceberg, like it burst open, I think, easier. Or I'm not
But
sure
there are,
exactly.
I believe, many documentaries to explain how that happened, and we are
And the
not
movie.
any of them.
Which is the realistic
Um,
one.
do not trust the movie.
The movie is
Um,
real. Those people were on a door.
All those people had a GoPro
It could have
attached.
fit two people.
They all recorded their POV of the accident. They only recovered 2.
Damn.
Anyways,
Okay, so
continuing.
let's get to
Spanish
other
flu.
interesting stuff. We have the
Spanish
well,
Flew
flu.
that
where?
happens later. That's like
Shut up.
at the end of the First World War, Victor.
Yeah, it's at the end. Okay, let's go to the First World War
Yeah,
then.
but like no, we have all sorts of stuff before that.
What? There's
Italo-Turkish
more.
War, 1911 to 1912. We have the First Balkan
Ugh,
Wars, and
almost
then
as
the
if
second
the
one.
world is a big
Then
place
we
and
have the
things happen.
Saudi-Ottoman War.
Boring.
So let's see. What is the Turkish War about? Is that when they
Turkish
get Libya?
War.
I think
Maybe.
I
so.
think that's when Italy steals Libya.
Grr.
What about the Wadai War? Wadai.
Well, you can look into that and tell us what's happening over there.
Wadai War.
The Italo-Turkish War or Turco-Italian War.
Italish?
Turkish for Turco-Italian or Italo-Turkish.
Hmm.
Whoa.
It
I have-
is.
Albanian War. Guerra di Libia, War of Libya, was fought between the Kingdom of Italy and the Ottoman Empire from 29th of September 1911 to 18th of October 1912. As a result of this conflict, Italy captured the Ottoman Tripolitania Vilayet, of which the main sub-provinces were Fezzan, Cyrenaica, and Tripoli itself. So yeah, this is basically just modern-day Libya. These territories became the colonies of Italian Tripolitania and Cyrenaica that would later merge into Italian Libya. Yeah.
what basically Wadai War was France raping the Wadai Empire for like a few
African
years.
people.
Yeah, just it was just
Oh, okay,
African
yeah.
colonization.
So France was just like performing mass
Yeah,
people
Wadai
on
Empire
Africans
is like
because why
where
not?
Chad and Sudan located,
That
like in
it's
between
bad.
those 2 countries, like Eastern Chad and Western Sudan. That's where Wadai.
Well, oh my God! Wait, guys.
Oh no.
Italy agreed to return the Dodecanese to the Ottoman Empire in the Treaty of Auchi.
Ouchies.
I need more context for this one. The Treaty of Auchi.
The Deccanese Islands.
When do we get to like the
Italian
fun
diplomats
stuff?
decided to take advantage
When
of
do
the
we get to like
situation to
the
obtain a favorable peace.
yo finish Civil War?
Oh, yeah, that
Oh, that's not a
happened.
yo movement.
Wait, did it? Oh,
On the
yeah.
18th of October 1912,
Yeah, true.
Italy and the Ottoman Empire.
1914 to 1918, right?
Auchi. What
That's
is
World
Auchi?
War One.
Oh, wait, no, Finnish Civil War was 1914 to 1917?
It was
Or
no,
It's in
it
a very
was from
similar time to
it was
It-
it was
it's
from
in
27th of January to 15th of
It's
May
like the
1918.
end of the First World
Huh.
War
It lasted
time.
3
Really?
months.
Oh, when was it? It was only 1917 or something.
It was only 1918 in 1 year,
It's
like
only...
3 months actually.
Oh, okay. I thought it was longer. Oh, it's just
I thought
1918,
as
sure.
well. But it's very, very short for a war.
I mean, yeah, they had like soldiers from Germany and stuff coming to help them. And then the other side was just workers who wanted
Yeah,
more
they
wage.
had
Yeah.
the Red Finland and White Finland, and they
Mhm.
like separated themselves, and then they fought. And then there was that one guy that was pretty cool, and that one guy helped.
I can't believe that Auchi is a place. I refuse to believe this is a place.
Bro, there's many
Ouchie?
places that
How do you
sound weird.
spell that? Nicholas?
What's that? What was that one guy? Like
Ouchy. Auchi. Literally Auchi.
Mannerheim?
Treaty of
Like,
Ouchie.
Mannerheim?
Is it Mannerheim?
Victor,
Yeah.
that's years away. We're nowhere near that.
By the way, no, it wasn't. Finish
But
Civil
Yeah,
War.
1918. We're like way off. We're not even
we're
in the
not
First
there
World War
yet. You're spoiling.
I'm spoiling the future. Damn, guys, sorry.
Stop spoiling,
Yeah.
Victor.
My mistake. My mistake. I'll go back in time.
Aha. It's in
So
Lausanne,
why didn't
Switzerland.
why
Ouchie.
yeah why didn't Italy give these back?
Mm.
Who? What? You gotta specify.
The Dodecanese Islands back to
Okay, so basically, the
Ottoman
Dodecanese
Empire.
Islands and the roads weren't given back because Turkey was being a meanie in the Balkans, and part of it was like the Ottomans have to be nice before we give them back, and the Italians were like, yeah, well, you're not being nice to the Greeks, so no islands for you.
Yo, what is this?
The invasion of Libya was a costly enterprise for Italy. Instead of 30 million lira a month judged sufficient at its beginning, it reached a cost of 80 million a month for a much longer period than was originally estimated. The cost, Okay, interesting.
What's
And then we
what?
get the
What's
Balkan
Mont
Wars.
Blanc?
Mont Blanc. It's the tallest mountain in Europe, I think,
No, it's a
Mhm.
ship.
or well,
You're
at
wrong.
least in like
It's
Europe.
a ship.
That
SS
caused
Mont Blanc.
that caused a Halifax explosion in Nova Scotia
What?
when it
Although we're getting too
when
ahead
it
of ourselves.
when it
That's
hit
1970.
into a Norwegian ship, I think.
Canada took so many L's in 1910s.
No.
Okay, so now we
Titanic,
have the First Balkan War. So
Halifax.
basically, the
What
Ottomans were, I
else?
think they were still fighting the Italians at this point.
Titanic 2.0.
Wait.
Uh,
Titanic
so
2.0.
That would be funny.
October 1912 to,
I
to
don't think
May
it would,
1913,
Victor.
the Balkan League attacked. No, Engin, no, not Engin, Victor. That's not. No, not
What's
funny.
not? No.
Um, no. Yeah, the Ottomans are getting bullied by the Italians and then the Balkans because they showed weakness when they fought the Italians, I think.
Yeah, they did that.
Yeah, everyone in the Balkans worked together for like 5 minutes. It's amazing. Bulgaria, Greece, Serbia, and Montenegro all joined together to beat up the Ottomans.
Can you
It
say that
Why
one
worked.
again?
even?
Say that one country.
Serbia?
Mm-mm. The other one.
Bulgaria?
Mm-mm. The other
Oh,
one.
shut up.
Jesus Christ. So
Bosnia?
yeah, but then
Uh-uh.
Bulgaria, no, didn't exist yet. It was part of the Austro-Hungarian Empire at the
Macedonia?
time.
Mm-mm.
Oof, I can't think of any more Balkan
Also,
countries.
they didn't exist.
Serbia yet again?
Um,
Kosovo?
It's London.
okay, can we just mute Victor? I think it'll improve the video.
Oh no.
But yeah, so Bulgaria got really pissy because they did, according to them, of course, they did all the
Bulgaria.
work. In like beating up Turkey, which by the way, let's be very clear here. This war, the Balkan War, lots of genociding,
Oh yeah.
big mass murders
Oh
of
yeah. Only lasted
Muslims,
7 months though.
Turks, all the people.
Only
Big,
7 months.
yeah. Mostly because the Ottomans weren't like ready, like they didn't mobilize in time, and like they still had units in Libya fighting the Italians, so they couldn't like
Oh.
do anything.
But it was only 7 months.
Yeah, it's a lot longer than a lot of wars.
Really? What about Great War?
Yeah, the Nazi invasion of Denmark lasted 6 days.
You know that the shortest war was 38 minutes. Like
Yeah, but
Britain attacked like one of those African islands, like close to uh what's it called?
it's
The
not called anything.
the territory on the right side of Africa,
What?
like island.
Madagascar?
Cape
Like
Verde?
yeah, no,
Oh,
not
wait,
that,
that's on the left
that's
side.
west.
Well, it depends on which way
Wait.
you
Um,
look.
What do you
Really.
mean
yeah.
the right? It's a very large part of the
On
world,
the
Victor.
What
It
what
on the
Zide
depends on
said?
East
how far you want to
Coast?
stretch.
What's
All of
Zide said?
Asia?
Wait, West.
What Zide said? Well, I forgot the name already.
Madagascar?
Madagascar?
Madagascar, like next to Madagascar.
Ah.
There
Did you
was
know
like
that
How do
a
you?
Madagascar split off from
Oh my God.
India?
yeah, they do that.
That's so
British.
The
cool.
continent?
I mean, yeah. After like tectonic plates move like, things around, it's gonna happen
Yeah, I don't
eventually.
think that's relevant, but okay.
1910s. Just then, in that decade, it split off from India.
Hmm. Yeah. Basically, the war was like the British went to that war. It's like, man, show you bitches, and then they bombarded them with a bunch of like navy bombs, and then after 38 minutes, they just gave up. Well,
Fair
that
enough.
was like it was already like a puppet country, but like some guy tried to overrule that and become like independent, and then it didn't work.
The First Balkan War was a comprehensive and unmitigated disaster for the Ottomans, who lost 83% of the European territories and 69% of the European population. Oh, well,
That's pretty good.
nice. As a result of the war, the League captured and partitioned almost all of the Ottoman Empire's remaining territories in Europe. Ensuing events also led to the creation of an independent Albania, big mistake, which dissatisfied the Serbs.
Look, should we go
So,
to
okay,
war
so
mode?
Albania was made, and then they got really angry because it's Serbians. Why are the Serbians? What is it with Balkan people hating each other?
It's
Why
so
is Serbia
true.
dissatisfied that
So
like
true.
Albania is winning? Come on, it's just whatever.
They
Okay,
did
so
that
yeah,
something.
basically Bulgaria. You guys all suck, and I want more stuff because Bulgaria is greedy, and
Look,
they have
I'm
like an
good.
idiot king emperor guy.
I'm
And
top tier.
then they teamed up on uh, Serbia and Greece. Well,
No,
no, they
they.
well they I guess they attacked both of them, and like they thought they were gonna win, and they started losing because they suck. And then Romania invaded from the north, and they didn't have any troops in the north, so they just got like steamrolled instantly,
Uh,
and it was
Ooh.
hilarious.
France was hungry at the time. Look at the map.
Hungry. Oh, like I was like, what? Are you looking at like food production quotas or something? Oh, oh, that
Hungry.
reminds me. Oh. There were these really big like wine riots and like champagne riots in France around this
Oh,
time
because they couldn't
because
have
there was this like
wine?
huge glut
Ooh.
of wine production.
Gluttons.
Oh.
Um,
There's so many gluttons in
in
France.
January 1911, frustrations reached boiling points as riots erupted along the towns of Damery and Hautevillers. Champenois vine growers intercepted trucks with grapes from the Loire Valley and pushed them into the Marne River. They then descended upon the warehouses of producers known to produce fake champagne, tossing more wine and barrels into the Marne. The owner of Achille Perrière found his house surrounded by an angry mob chanting "À bas les fraudeurs, down with cheats." He was able to escape harm by hiding in the home of his concierge. The height of the violence was experienced in the village of A, located 3 miles northeast of Epernay. As the mob descended upon the city, little was spared. Homes of private citizens as well as champagne house producers were pillaged and ransacked. Somewhere a fire was started that spread throughout the city. The regional governor sent an urgent telegram to Paris requesting assistance, stating, "We are in a state of civil war." By sunrise, the entire village of A was burning. To quell the violence, the French government sent over
No.
40,000 troops to the region, setting up a billet in every village. Because of wine.
Oh my goodness.
Wow. Just because the wine was not manufactured in
Like, it's basically,
or
there was this huge, like, thing about,
At least they weren't
like,
whiny about it.
the and the really interesting bit is that for a very long time, the wine growers in France were
mm-hmm.
like socialists. It's this really weird
So much
here.
shit happened in like
Um
1700s.
the winemaking corporation symbol, the red meaty. So basically, like there was a big like like they made these like communal farm like wine areas, and they worked together to make the wine, and it like ended up working pretty well, and they became like
Mm-hmm.
socialist winemakers living in southern France. It's this like wacky ideological like placement, and eventually there was even like a separatist movement that wanted independence from France for like the south because of the wine. Because they would like felt like the government wasn't doing enough to protect winemakers. Um, so that was like the original 1907 crisis, and there's another one later on, mostly
Jesus.
uh, uh, because of the like 'cause there wasn't enough. There was the winemakers felt like there was too much import of other like alcohol from elsewhere, and
Mm-hmm.
they felt like there was like fake wines and like fake champagnes and stuff were being made.
Mm-hmm.
So they started like burning and like destroying wines and like
Oh.
killing people, and
Wow.
it's amazing. Eventually, what would happen actually is that the First World War would kind of save the wine industry because they were overproducing by like unimaginable amounts. Like they were making like hundreds of billions of liters of wine,
Oh
and
my
it's like
goodness.
insane. Like the yearly production amounts were going up. Like it one year, it like production in France went up by 98% because of like a very good summer, and it's like, what do you do with all the wine? You know, like what are you meant to do with that?
Mm.
Eat it?
So like, but then with the First World War,
It's
like there was a huge like consumption of wine because the French troops got like a wine ration every day.
ah.
Uh,
Wait,
First
a
it was
wine
a
ration during the
Yeah, it was first
during
a
the war?
quarter liter. Well, yeah, it made the soldiers more willing to, hop over the trench,
Oh.
I suppose
because they were
because
a
of
little
the
drunk.
intoxicating effects of wine.
Yeah, but yeah, it's like they managed to like kind of
That's
buy up all
crazy.
that overproduction because of the war. But before then, they were actually in like a pretty tough spot. There's so much
Mhm.
overproduction that prices were like incredibly low, and all the wine merchants were
Inflation.
whining. But yeah, there's all sorts of interesting stuff about these wine people.
I do love some wine.
Uh,
And I think that gets to the point of World War One.
yeah.
Huh.
What if we just like don't ever talk about like Franz Ferdinand in this video?
Why not?
Just ignore him.
He's
He
my
wasn't
man.
that
Yeah, just like,
important.
well, he was dead important, as in he was only important that when he was dead.
I guess.
Well,
Didn't
no, he
he?
was pretty important. He like walked around and stuff.
He walked around. Well done.
Walked around.
Uh,
See, I haven't done that. You gotta respect the grind.
I'm dying.
Okay, so what happened in
okay,
World
well
War One, Nicholas? Let's break it
let's give
down.
it some like let's give him some respect, Mr. Ferdinand man.
Mhm.
Um,
Mr.
so
Man
he's going down to a big parade
in
in
Austria-Hungary.
Sarajevo,
Mm.
Sarajevo.
which is the
Sarajevo.
kind of
It's
Sarajevo.
the
not Halo,
local
it's Yevo,
capital
right?
of
Yevo, yeah.
Bosnia,
Because it's
Mm.
Bosnia.
within what is it? Yeah, Bosnia, within Austria-Hungary. Like Bosnia is one of the like kind of constituent lands of the Austro-Hungarian Empire. He was actually known as a defender of the Serbs in the empire. Supposedly he hated the Hungarians, which is like interesting to me. But like yeah, within the empire he was seen as like one of the people who was nicer to like the South Slavs of the empire.
Mm.
And he came there on the day of the Battle of Kosovo, which is this like national
Really?
day of pride for
Oh
the
yeah,
people
I
there, and like
remember.
it's possible
Uh,
that he didn't know about that.
what was the assassiner? Assassin?
Gavrilo Princip.
Um.
Yeah, I've got
He
a
was
little
Mhm.
a Bosnian nationalist, I think, who wanted like an independent Bosnia, but he worked with the Black Hand, which was a
Yeah, he
Serbian
worked with
group.
the Black Hand, and then
They
and
might have
then
had probably had some connections to the
with the
Serbian
government.
military.
Yeah, government,
So yeah, that's
military.
why like the Austria-Hungarians blamed the government like directly. Though then again, whether or not the
That's how the
government
war
actually
started.
knew what its
Actually,
military was
Wow.
doing,
isn't
that's kind of iffy.
if Carlo Princip wasn't part of the Black Hand, there probably wouldn't be any war, right?
Well, that war, like it wouldn't have started that way. We probably have a war eventually, but like
Yeah,
not
but like
like
not in
this
this way.
war that we know. Yeah. But yeah, so he's going
What
to
if?
Sarajevo. He is in his like motorcade of cars, and
Mhm.
Mhm.
the first assassination attempts happen. There's a guy who throws a
A
like
bomb, right?
A
grenade.
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 Yeah,
Yeah.
but like it misses. Actually, I think the Archduke like he ducks. Like
It's
he
so
specifically
funny.
ducks. He sees it coming, he ducks, and then
And
like
then
the
it
guy jumps
falls into
down.
the car behind them, right?
Yeah, it hits the car after them. The guy jumps down a river, like to from the bridge down to a
Oh,
river,
But he gets caught,
into
but
right?
shallow water.
the river is really shallow because
Oh yeah,
he
he
has it
dies,
planned
right?
out, and he like breaks his legs,
Boom.
so they catch him. He tries to take a cyanide pill, but the cyanide pills were bought on the cheap and they had expired,
Oh
so he
my
Oh my
throws
goodness.
up
god.
as the police like pick him up and get him to the prison cell. There's another guy who was meant to shoot him, and his gun malfunctioned. There was
Oh
one guy who was meant to
my.
shoot him, and he just couldn't do it.
Oh yeah, the
And
one guy
then
that was meant to shoot him, he like went up to him and it didn't work, so Ferdinand just shot him, right?
and then there was a hold on. There was okay, so basically there's a lot of failed assassination attempts, and it's all
Fail
going
after
crazy.
fair.
Wow.
And then the bomb one happens last, and that's the one where they actually notice that they're trying to kill. Because before that they don't notice, because no one shoots, no one does anything, right?
Ah.
And then
And
the bomb
then
one happens. The police are like, "Oh my God!
and then
Ah,
they
ah,
try to
ah."
don't they try to send Franz Ferdinand to the hospital? But he goes, no, I don't
They
want to
no
go to
no
the
he
hospital.
he he
Oh no,
meets
or is it
with
like
the mayor of the town in the city hall, I think, and
yeah?
like because usually what we would do in this situation is we would get like all the secret service people to like spirit him out and like send him back to Vienna in like a bunker,
Hmm.
but you know they just all go to the like town hall. The mayor says, keep on doing your tour, and he thunders back something like, "What, you would have me visiting museums while bombs explode on your streets?" And then he says we should go to the hospital to visit the
Oh
civilians
yeah,
who
we
were
should go.
harmed by the bomb.
Okay, yeah.
And on his
And
way
then on
to the
his way,
hospital,
Gavrilo Princip just walks up to him. He's like, yeah,
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 they
hello.
they turn onto, funnily enough, Franz Joseph Street, which is the name of the current emperor, but that was the
Mm-hmm.
wrong street to go on. And like, because the driver was an Austrian, he didn't know Sarajevo. He was like using maps and stuff. And then he was like,
Mm-hmm.
"Oh, I'm in the wrong street." He was meaning to back up the
Oh
car
yeah.
because it's a 1910s car. The car stalls, and they're stuck there. And for whatever reason, Gavrilo Princip is there near this cafe, and he's watching this, and he's like, "Oh my God, it's my chance."
Oh
And
my
he
god.
gets up, and he shoots Franz
The
Ferdinand and his
and the
wife.
wife.
And Franz Ferdinand is lying there, and as far as we know, based on people who were like close by, he was asked, is he okay? And he says, "Oh, it's nothing, it's nothing." And then he looked at his wife, who was there, motionless, on the back seat of the car, and held her hand and said, "Sophie, Sophie, live for our children, don't die." And none of them would survive the hour.
Ouch.
Damn,
Mm-hmm.
that's
And
pretty sad.
that's how you get an apoplectic response from the Austrians. They are furious. They want blood, This is unacceptable. You cannot go around killing members of the royal family. And,
Especially if
this
like
was the heir to the
if they're
throne.
connected with the military. If
Yeah,
these people.
especially, yeah, because there were, like, uh, seemingly relatively legitimate suspicions of connections to the
Because how are they
military. And, of
getting their
course,
like weaponry?
yeah,
And
and,
most
and,
most
and, and
likely
if
from
there's connections to the military, there
Mm-hmm.
might also be connections to the
to the
civilian
government.
government.
Yeah.
And that's where like these accusations that like Serbia planned this, that Serbia was somehow part of this, come about.
Do we
But
know if they were or not?
I'm not sure. Like I think probably some research has been done, but it's hard to say. But the thing is,
Mm-hmm.
it's not really relevant because the
Yeah.
Austro-Hungarians at this point they they send an ultimatum to the Serbians.
Mm-hmm.
And the point of the ultimatum is that it must be refused because Austria wants war. Serbia is a problem for Austria generally. This is a perfect excuse to kill them off. This is the thing that you can do to get rid of Serbia because having a southern Slavic state like right on their border means that the people like the Bosnians kind of look at it and see, look, they have a country, why can't we have a country? So getting rid of Serbia, this is, a fair reason as far as like the rest of Europe is concerned. But what they do is the impossible demand that they make, which is like I don't know, I think the 10th demand in the ultimatum, which they give like 24 hours to the Serbians to respond to. The 10th demand is that Austrian police have to be allowed to investigate the murder within Serbia for any connections to like the Serbian military and that kind of stuff on their own, which is tantamount to giving up sovereignty. You don't let like foreign police officers run investigations in your country independent of like your own like police structures.
Yeah.
So they refused. But the way Serbia refuses, they say if Austria-Hungary feels like this is unfair, they can call for a conference, which kind
Mm.
of puts the ball back in Austria's court because now
Mm-hmm.
Europe looks at the Serbian response and says, that's reasonable. And as all of this is happening, this kind of frantic news is coming in from everywhere, this like schizophrenic final days before the
Germany is
war,
planning, right?
um, the Kaiser gives a carte blanche, which is a blank check,
Mm-hmm.
to the Austrians, saying, "We will support you no matter what." And then he goes on holiday for 3 weeks, where he can't be reached. And that leaves the German government and the military, specifically in Germany, kind of in the driver's seat for what they want to do. So by the time that
But
the Kaiser gets back,
why did they decide to go on holiday?
At
I
that
assume the holiday was
time,
like
it's
planned
just,
beforehand, and
oh
he was just
my
like, "Eh,
god.
whatever, you can handle it.
Nothing will
It's just a little
happen.
Serbia."
Nothing
Yeah.
bad will
And
happen.
he comes back, and by the time he comes back, he reads the answer to the ultimatum, and he utters, fatefully to himself, "With this, all the reasons for war fall away." So there's that feeling of everyone trying to stop this war. They can all see it coming. They're all trying to fight back against it, but it doesn't work. And even in Austria, this happened. The Hungarian element of the Austro-Hungarian Empire, which in the revolution of 1848, I think, they revolted. Um, and the Austrians almost lost the Hungarian portion of their empire because back then it was just the Austrian Empire.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm.
the Russians came in and helped them defeat the Hungarians, and that's why during the Crimean War, Russia asked Austria to help because they were like, "Hey, now you owe us one," and Austria was like, "Yeah, yeah, Russia will help you. Don't worry about it." And then the Crimean War happened. Russia asked for help, and Austria was like,
Hell no.
no." And then Russia. That's why Russia hates the Austrians, which is
Hell no.
fair enough. Um, so the Hungarian element sees Austria as like kind of becoming a little bit more imperious now that they've conquered Bosnia and these other areas. They might want to like curtail Hungarian autonomy and freedom. So they make a stipulation. They will not support a war with Serbia unless the Austrian portion promises that no Serbian land will be annexed, so actually taken away from
Mm.
Serbia and put into Austria-Hungary. So the war will just be a sort of symbolic, we go there, we kill some people, we thump our chest, and then we leave. And Austria says, fine. But the thing is, for
They
whatever
don't do
reason,
all the requests, right?
they don't have an ambassador to Russia. Somehow, the Austrians don't have one. So the
How?
Russians never learn that the Austrians don't mean to annex Serbia. And the
Mm-hmm.
Germans, they don't ever tell the Russians that. Even though there is a moment when the German ambassador speaks with the Russian foreign minister, Sazonov,
Mm-hmm.
and Sazonov says if Austria means to swallow Serbia, then it must be war. And Portales, the ambassador, he doesn't catch it, but in that moment, he could have ended the war. If he had known,
Ah.
maybe he didn't know. We don't know if he knew either.
Informed
But if he had
the Russian
realized
foreigner
and told
minister.
Sazonov, no, 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 they're not taking anything,
Yeah.
that might have ended the war then and there.
Oh,
But somehow along the
Damn.
line, either the Germans never knew, or the Austrians never told them,
yes.
or someone never
Slipped.
told
Slipped his
Portales,
mind.
and for some reason they don't have an ambassador of their own to represent them in Russia.
No.
So the Russians
It's
are
like a
working off
really
of the
big
information.
line of broken telephone.
Yeah, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
the Russians
Yes.
are working
A
off the information that
middleman
Austria
and
is going to
middleman.
annex Serbia, which is unacceptable to Russia because to them Serbia is like a Slavic ally in the Balkans.
Mm,
They are
yeah.
another Eastern Orthodox, Slavic nation. Russia sees itself as the protector of the Slavs. They're not going to let that happen. But if, the Austrians want to muck about a little bit, kill some people, leave, sure, whatever. Eh, it's not worth, having a huge war over that.
I see.
But no one ever tells Portales. So in the end,
The
um,
war
the,
starts.
there's a halt in Belgrade plan. Attack, halt in Belgrade, which is like right on the border. You can
Mm-hmm.
take the capital city, you can show that you've won, and then you can leave. The British seem to support the plan, and there's some support for it from like the Kaiser and the Germans pushing it.
Mm-hmm.
But somehow, because there wasn't a telephone line between Berlin and Potsdam, Potsdam is where
Where's
the Kaiser
Potsdam?
was because of the vacation, and
Oh,
it's
is it
I
like
think
in
northern
Germany
Germany.
still?
And
Ah.
Berlin is of course where the government was. They didn't get the news that the Kaiser was telling them this. It was just like an idea that they were given from like a guy. So they didn't know it was like
Oh,
the Kaiser's orders. So they were like, nah, whatever, that's a dumb plan. Let's not do that.
Oh my goodness.
So
oh
like
damn.
there's this attempt again. He tries, but he can't.
There's
And
just
the
so much
Why
Austrians,
didn't he? Why
miscommunication
didn't he
here.
just come
yeah,
back
well, yeah,
from
I think that's where
vacation?
he landed, and that's when he got the news, and then he said like, go give them this like these orders, but then the orders weren't given as like orders of the Kaiser.
But like, this is
So
the one time you need to be there, like personally.
the
Like,
the Austrians, their foreign minister, I think, he is in this like conundrum because the thing is, the Germans, he called up the Germans and he talks to them like they're because the German Kaiser's in there, so it's mostly the war cabinet and like the generals who are running things. And they scream at him, saying, "What? You haven't invaded yet? We're losing sympathies of Europe. This isn't what we agreed on. Get over with it now." And then he goes to the Austrian chief of staff for the army, Konrad von Hotzendorf, a very handsome man but a complete idiot. Um, he, however, he's in this situation. He was correct. He says, "What? Declare war? on Serbia? You had to tell us weeks ago if you were planning that. We're not ready for that, and we're not doing that until we have a guarantee from Russia
No.
that they're not going to invade us. Get a guarantee of Russian neutrality, and we will consider it. So the foreign minister is like, "Oh my God, what do I do? What do I do?" The problem
What?
is
The
the
chief
Russians.
of military was not informed that they were going to invade Serbia?
How did this happen? So much
So the problem
miscommunication.
is the Russians are thinking about this way. We need to mobilize because if the Austrians mobilize and they take Serbia, what if
Yeah.
they keep on moving? What if they attack us? Because the problem is our mobilizing an army takes like, 6 to 8 weeks at least. So in
This
that
is
time, the Austrians
crazy.
could cross all the way to like Moscow. You can't let that happen, so you have to mobilize. But if you if you mobilize, then the Austrians might think that Russia wants to attack them. So they're in this like damned if you damned if you don't situation.
Mm.
So the the then there's these in the end there's the what are called the Nicky Willy telegrams, where basically Kaiser Nicholas and sorry, Kaiser Wilhelm Tsar Nicholas, other way around, yeah. So they send each other telegrams in the middle of the night, and they're like they're like oh, this ignoble war is being declared upon a small country. What should the indignation shared in Russia by the people, shared completely by me, is enormous, and I'm afraid I'm going to have to resort to extreme measures. But can we not like end this somehow? And the Kaiser is also awake. He gets the telegram, and he writes back, and there's this flurry of letters. And then in the middle of the night, Tsar Nicholas picks up the phone, and he contacts his Minister of Defense, and he tells him cancel the mobilization. And the guy is like, but all the things we'd have to do to cancel the mobilization. And Tsar Nicholas just says, cancel it. And then he hangs up the phone. And then the next day, everyone is brought in. The Duma, which is sort of Russian parliament, but not very effective because the Tsar limited its power, the head of the
Oh yeah,
Orthodox
that thing.
Church, all the ministers, everyone come in for a knockout debate with the Tsar, telling him, we must mobilize. And supposedly, this is, one of those stories that might not be true, but it fits the character of Tsar Nicholas so well. Supposedly, for a moment, he stood aside from everyone else, went to a window to look out into the air of St. Petersburg to try and think. And some aide de camp, some, like personal aide, came up to him and said, Your Majesty, we know how difficult it must be for you to decide. And in that moment, Tsar Nicholas decides, fine, I'll sign the order, because it brought to mind all those times when people had called him just a wishy-washy prince, someone who couldn't make up his mind. Damn it, he is the emperor of the largest country on earth. He will not be questioned like this. So he
So he was
signs the
basically
order.
peer pressured.
Yeah, but like it's accidental. It wasn't meant as like an insult to him, but that's the way he took it. And
Macbeth.
yeah, exactly. And she has that like, fine, I'll do it, and they mobilize, and
And
it's
then
over now.
everything goes
Russia
to shit.
mobilizes, Germany
Yeah.
has to mobilize, and the French have to mobilize now because they lost the war to Germany like 50, 40 years ago because they didn't get their troops on the field early enough. They know exactly how this is going to end if they don't mobilize. And then the last meeting between Portales, the German ambassador, and the Russian foreign
Russian
minister
foreign
after this,
minister.
Sazonov, Sergei Sazonov, um, Portales goes to Sazonov and begs him, please, please, cancel this mobilization. Don't do this. Sazonov says no. Portales says there will be no end to the fighting. There will be no winners. We will all be destroyed. The monarchies must work together or they will all fall. Sazonov says no. Portales gets to his knees, begging him, please end this madness. In the name of anything that is holy, end it. Sazonov says no.
No.
Portales gets up to his feet, tears in his eyes, and he utters out, well then, sir, it is my privilege to inform you that we are at war. He hands him the declaration of war, and then he says almost to himself, I don't know how I'll be able to pack. I never thought I'd leave Russia like this. Sazonov offers to send someone to pack for him, and a month later, 1 million men will be dead.
Oof, oof.
Damn. Amazing storytelling. Storytelling.
Yeah. It's
Bravo,
Storytelling.
bravo.
Bravo.
supposedly, actually, Portales gave both declarations of war because there were two different declarations of
Two
war
different ones.
that they had in like different scenarios that were like going to happen, like the way that the war is declared. And he just gave both because he was so like emotional, like he wasn't looking. He just like handed everything over. He was like, "Take it, take it."
Which was the
Mm,
second one?
I think it was like it might have been like a declaration of war just on Serbia or something. Like if Russia doesn't mobilize, I'm not sure how exactly like I think that was something like if Russia mobilizes, whether or not Russia mobilizes, they had like different declarations of war on like only Serbia or like on Russia and Serbia or that stuff like that. But basically, this then of course everyone knows the basics here. This drags in the French because the French are allied with the Russians, and then the Germans decided it's a good idea to invade Belgium, and of course the British are like, hey, 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 and the Germans are like, you weren't supposed to honor your international obligations to protect Belgium. That's not cool. And of course, the Belgians fight back, which is kind of impressive. Battle of Liège slows down the German army a lot, and the Russians are ready for war in 6 weeks, which the Germans didn't anticipate at all. So they have to take away troops to the Eastern Front. Battle of Marne, and all these things. The French general, when the Germans are approaching Paris, says, "What if we stop retreating?" And then there's big fights that happen around the front line, and those like the battles create holes in the German lines, so the Germans have to retreat to better positions, and then you build up the trench lines that would last for about the whole year, 4 years of the war.
Damn. Yeah, basically a lot of trench warfare, right? Like
Yeah,
was the end of.
horrible, horrible fighting.
And how many people died by the end of the war? Like 4 million, right?
Even more, I think.
10 million?
Hold on, let's see. I think
mm.
70, I think, is for the Second World War. Let's go with the First World War.
It's like around 40 million.
40 million?
The total
Oh,
number
never
of
mind. 20
military and
million,
civilian
that's 21
casualties is
million
around 40.
wounded. So total casualties. No, wait.
That's
Mm-hmm.
still a lot. That's a gigantic amount.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
9.7 million military personnel and about 10 million civilians.
So basically, all of World War One started with a massive,
Too many.
huge ass broken telephone, miscommunication,
Yeah,
action
the
between like
July crisis is
multiple
this
countries.
insane schizophrenic time where like no one seems to know what's happening. Everything is really confused and everyone's really afraid of like someone somewhere is mobilizing their armies and they just can't get a lid on things and it just doesn't end.
Never ends, yeah. And then before like nothing would have happened, but just because
Yeah,
everyone
there's
was so like
there's so many
paranoid.
like possibilities
Yeah,
for like places where it could have stopped. The Russians could have backed off. The Austrians could have, I don't know, bothered to have an embassy. The the
Wanted to
Germans
have
could
an
have been
embassy.
told, or maybe they could have, remembered. I don't know. The the Serbians could have just agreed to the 10th or 11th or whatever like
like
ultimatum they
ultimatum. Yeah,
yeah, there's so much. Because I feel like that's another thing. The Austrians wanted war. They didn't actually care about getting to investigate stuff in Serbia. So I feel like if Serbia like actually accepted, like like malicious compliance, like that it's not like compliance isn't what they want. So if you just say yes now, they would be really angry, but they can't do anything about
Mhm.
it. Like you just agreed.
yeah. Then it went. Then it just started. It was like so many
Yeah,
things that could
and then once people start dying, of course, you get this
have. Yeah,
sunk cost fallacy of, well, we can't stop now. People have already died. It would be disrespectful to all the people who've already died fighting to
Yeah.
give up now.
and then there was also an arms race, right, between
Yeah, there was
Britain,
an arms race,
France,
Mm.
like 12, 12
and
to
Germany.
14. Germany and the UK were like
Like
naval
with
arms
yeah,
racing.
naval army. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
trying to get
it
more
never really
troops.
worked. Actually, the
Is it
British made a. Uh, so
dreadnoughts?
basically, what happened was because the British invented the dreadnought, which means like fear not. It was first just one ship, but it
Oh.
became the dreadnought class. Um, that sort of screwed Britain's dominance of the seas. It might sound like a really good thing, right? Like you invented a new super weapon, but
Mm.
consider the fact that people who had ships that weren't dreadnoughts, like pre-dreadnoughts, started calling their ships 20-minuters because that's how long they expected to last against a dreadnought.
Oh,
The
Sorry?
problem for the British
20,
was
20
20
20
minutes.
minutes?
minutes.
Oh,
Yeah.
really?
Yeah,
That's
so the
crazy.
British had a problem. If we have a new type of ship that
And it
makes
gets
all other
destroyed.
kinds of ships obsolete, it is our navy that is now meaningless, not the German one, because the German one isn't really that big. It's not very relevant now, anyways. But now, the real advantage that the British had was one dreadnought more than the Germans. All those cruisers and destroyers that they had were just made obsolete by their own invention. Their whole navy was
Oh, I
meaningless
see.
now.
But well,
So, what do you
Dreadnoughts
do?
carried.
Yeah, that's the thing.
but
When there's
they weren't
dreadnoughts,
really
if the
used, weren't
Germans
they?
get
They
like
were
20
just more like
dreadnoughts,
a.
that's it.
It was more like it's just like a. Oh, I have more. No, I have more. You have more.
Well, the thing is, dreadnoughts are one of those weapons where they
Like
were
you
so
don't.
expensive,
If
no
you
one really
lose them,
wanted to
it's
use them.
yeah. Because if you lose them, it's like
Mm.
so much money
It's like
wasted.
a
But you
show of
need to
power
have
instead
them
of actually
because
using
if you
them.
don't have them, the other side wins by default. So, like, you know what I mean? Like, both of you
Mm.
need to have them with you because otherwise the other person, they just win. But
Mm,
seeing as you both have them, neither of you actually want to use them
Mm. It's
in
like
case you lose them, and then the other
nuclear
person
weapons
can use
now, I
theirs, which are
suppose.
left, to win anyways. So they're not actually worth using,
Mm.
damn.
which really plays into the defensive nature of this war, because that's how it worked, right? Even in this, like the trench warfare also had this kind of nature of sitting around and being defensive, though that's
Attrition.
not as true for the Allies as it is for the Germans, because if you look at like the World War One battle lines, the trench lines in the Western Front, it's very clear from the beginning that these lines are temporary for the French and the Belgians because the huge parts of their countries have just been occupied by the Germans. They can't, like that's why French, British, and Belgian trenches were of lower quality than the German ones because they're not going to spend, time making them really good because they're not meant to stay there. They're just like a sitting area for the next attack, whereas the German ones were legitimately meant to hold on to that territory.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, that's why the Germans have a better quality trench system basically the whole time. They have, like, more bunker-like trench systems. They have more solid ground and stuff, whereas the French and the British ones kind of dug in to the
Dug
ground
into the
because
ground,
the whole
yeah.
point is just you can just hide in there until we can all get up and attack again,
Mm.
which,
Holy moly.
understandable.
Sure was.
Yeah,
Not
here we
this.
have, these are some pretty late, I think, lines. Or, well, I mean, hold on. Which Pfefferhause?
Is this like what year? 19.
The
This is
U.S.
the
Army
whole.
is there, so this might be a 1918 map.
Mm-hmm.
Also, it's
Maybe, yeah.
pretty far from Paris, so it
1914
might be a
to
late map.
1918.
Where's US Army? Oh, there it is. Gotcha. Remain. Mark.
Uh, I think.
Yours.
Hold on. This
Where was
this
the
map here.
biggest? Where was the biggest like battle
Guernica.
in the
Battle
war?
of
Uh,
Verdun.
Ooh.
well, the Battle of Verdun was one of the big ones, but I don't know if like it's
Mm.
like the French were really putting stuff in there.
The
But yeah, this
Somme?
this map here shows you the green one is the original line. Now you can tell that is completely unacceptable for the French. Like they're right next to Paris. That's not okay.
Oh
Yeah.
wow,
So,
yeah.
Oh.
these lines are not like not good enough. So they push
Was this
forward
like
and they
Germany
keep on
trying to
pushing forward.
fight France?
Yeah. It's the front line
Yeah, well,
between them.
their idea was that they would take out the French by taking Paris, like they did in the Franco-Prussian War, and
Mm,
then the British would just kind of give up, and
I see.
then they would be able to deal with Russia. But kind of ironically, the like Schlieffen Plan's order was swapped. Like in reality, they took out Russia, and it was the French that ended up being like the long fight that they couldn't deal with.
Mm-hmm.
And then the
But yeah,
lines slowly started pushing back.
yeah, the
The
green line is
green
the
to
first
red.
line, and then like the next lines are all like consecutive lines where the Allies push the Germans back.
To retreat.
Gotcha.
I see.
They
Yeah.
did a pretty good
So you
job.
have this like constant. Yeah, well, that's over like 4 years.
Yeah, true. Better than World War Two, where they
Some.
completely lost their country.
Yeah, and actually, it's very much the same region, the Argonne and the Ardennes forest.
I mean, yeah,
That's where
it's
the
the most like
Germans cut
convenient
them off in the
place.
Second World War. Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, because like if you go through, well, Alsace-Lorraine wasn't actually French. They lost it in the Franco-Prussian War. They'd get it back after the First World War. But that whole area was like mountainous, and then the area after that, which was now the new border, that was all like fortified by the French. They had like big forts there, so the Germans
Nah,
didn't want to go through that. And the Maginot
so they
Line
went through the
repeated that, right?
mountains.
It forced the Germans to go the other way.
So why didn't they just like? Why didn't the
Um,
French just trap them if they knew they were going that way? Like set up some
well, we'll
people
talk
there.
about this in the 1930s to 40s one about like why this Second World War strategy failed. But like for the First World War, basically it kind of worked, I guess. It forced them to go like around Belgium through Belgium, so most of the like a lot of Belgium gets captured, but less of France. Um, you can see Verdun there on the map. That was it's no longer it was no longer a relevant really military area, but it was like very spiritually important to the French. It's like a like old military fortification with lots of like heritage and like kind of old importance. So they really wanted to hold on to it, and the battle there was brutal. It was just a complete meat grind. They were stuck in the bunkers in the fortresses, and they couldn't get out. And eventually their water ran out, and that's what like made them surrender. But they fought
Uh,
for ages, and the Germans were just shelling them and attacking, coming in with flamethrowers, trying to break their defenses, and it was just this
but
like
never
horrible
worked.
meat grinder. And
Yeah,
and like the French were sending huge amounts of soldiers. They had like almost 1 million men just to go to Verdun, like just
Holy
send them
moly.
off, go.
do you know
And the
how like
Germans were of course trying to match them.
speaking of soldiers, do you know how like a daily like how a soldier would like a POV of a soldier in World War I would be?
Well,
Let's say
the
a
Horrible,
German.
Germans
Ooh,
had it
horrible.
better in the beginning, but then
war.
it got worse, and the kind of the
War
Allies
never
had it the
The
changes.
reverse,
German
where like in the
trenches were a
beginning,
bit better because they were like concrete and stuff. British
yeah,
ones and
in
French
the
ones were all like
beginning,
muddy and filled with rats and swamp water.
in the beginning, it was really bad
Womp
for the
womp.
Allies, but as the war went
No.
on, the Allies' conditions got a lot better, and the German ones got a lot worse because
A
food was
lot
running
worse,
out.
right? Damn.
Um, so like
Were
they were
they
Yeah,
starving. So like
so
there's like
were
even
they
in
like in a siege or something? Like they weren't able to
well,
get
they were
food?
being blockaded by like
Yeah.
the North Sea, so there
Uh
was no way to get sulfate, I think, which they 90% or something of Germany's like sulfate, which they made into fertilizer and also into artillery. It's also used in like artillery shells, so like it was like
oh, so it was
doubly
like
important. That was
complete
from
like
South
removal.
America, so they had no way to import that. So it was.
Were were the U.S. and British Army like blocking
Well,
Germany?
the Royal Navy was just blockading the North Sea, and then the Germans were like U-boating underwater boating, which is submarines basically, but like
Submarine.
crappy submarines. And they were going around and like trying to blow up British
Like
ships and British
weren't
convoys.
they weren't didn't they blow up like civilian ships?
Eventually, yes, because the
Mhm.
way it worked was that like kind of according to the rules of like gentlemanly warfare, you weren't supposed to go blowing up like civilian convoys or anything. But
Gentlemanly
the
warfare.
Germans realized that given the direness of this situation, they had to try and destroy Allied commerce and like shipping. So they started attacking convoys, and then the Allies started putting anti-submarine weapons on the convoys, and then the Germans used that to basically argue, well, they're not convoys, they're like armored ships, they have weapons, So actually, we're like completely in the right to blow them up. And yeah, it was really messy and bad. But
Mm-hmm.
basically, unrestricted submarine warfare meant that there was a lot of civilian ships that were in danger of being sunk when they were leaving, especially from the UK. The But you gotta understand this. The reason why Germany can seemingly do so well against all these other countries is because, well, yeah, Germany was developed, Germany was like highly populous and wealthy and whatever, but
Yeah.
Germany was also playing like far more hardcore than anyone else. Like they started rationing bread in 1915, whereas the British
Oh,
started in 1917. Like the British just weren't they had more of a civilian economy. There just basically wasn't a civilian economy left in Germany. Like everything was going to the military.
gotcha.
Mm.
So they're already like, mm, they're already
They were
like,
like fully mobilized to the war effort.
yeah, they're already like fully dedicated to it.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
whereas the French and the British publics, but especially the British public, weren't as willing to accept that because like the war wasn't as close to them. The French and the Belgians more so because like it was their land. But even then, the amount of like public money and economic focus. Just in Germany, they just put everything to the war. The French and the Germans actually, there's a scene in I believe in All Quiet on the Western Front, the book, which is also like
Mm-hmm.
the movies, um,
Mm-hmm.
where they find like a British or a French trench. I think it's a French trench, French trench, and they
French French.
and they see like food. There's like meat and wine and they're looking at it like, oh my God, they have all this food. Because by
Mm-hmm.
the end of the war,
They had
it
no
wasn't
food.
like great or anything, but like the Allies were doing fine. They could buy stuff from the U.S. There was still like food to be had because they could get fertilizer,
Yeah, but like
but
the
the
Germany.
Germans couldn't.
Yeah.
Yeah, Germany was completely screwed. So they saw this like, wow, these guys are living it up, man.
Yeah.
So, like, and in with the French specifically, there was a mutiny in 1916 because of like the conditions of the soldiers. Um, but after that, they would change commander. Eventually, it would be Philippe Pétain who would be this like great hero of the French Republic. He was the Lion of Verdun. He fought at the
Mm-hmm.
Battle of Verdun and held off the Germans. He was this national hero, and he also I believe he treated the soldiers very well. Like the French army very much had like a class and rank structure that was very
Mm-hmm.
rigid.
Of
But
course.
he would come out and like eat the soup with the normal soldiers and like drink the normal soldiers' wine, which was called like I
Dang.
think Pinard, which is like kind
Ah.
of like a table wine. It's like crap wine. It's not very good.
Did
But like
everyone else
whatever.
drink this much wine? Or is just like the French
Uh,
thing to drink lots
It's
of
the
wine like
French.
everywhere?
I think specifically the French had wine, the Germans had beer, the Brits had like tea and like some other like I don't know whiskey or something.
That is
Oh.
so.
Let me see.
What does
There is a
what did the
picture of
Austria-Hungarian
French Army wine
Austria-Hungary has
reserves.
collapsed.
have?
Yeah, yeah. Listen, guys, the French Army wine reserves for the Gallipoli campaign, and this is just for one campaign.
Send an
This is
image.
like how
Uh,
much wine they were stocking up for their
Wow.
troops.
Not
jeez.
even water. They just
Wow.
have barrels upon barrels of
This was
wine.
I
a
mean,
stock in Greece. They like built up a stock in Greece because they knew that it's important. It was a strategic resource for the French, the wine. They gave first a quarter of a liter per day of wine to the soldiers. Then, after the 1916 mutiny, they improved conditions, and one of those improvements was half a liter of wine per day. And then, at the end of the war, it was three quarters of a liter, so 75 milliliters of wine per day as the ration.
no,
Wait,
750
so yeah,
milliliters.
not 75 would be really little.
750,
It'd
yeah.
be like a
I'm
sip.
thinking centiliters. Uh, the centiliters is just weird to say. That's why it's
No,
like I was thinking in centiliters, but I was avoiding
you're
the word.
thinking deciliters, not centiliters.
Deciliters.
Yeah.
Is that real?
If it
No.
was
75
centiliters, that would be 0.075.
No, 75 centiliters.
Yeah,
You sure?
because 100
Because
is
it's
in a
100.
liter. 10 deciliters is in a
Yeah,
liter.
100 centiliters.
It would be 7.5 deciliters.
7.5 deciliters.
7.5.
Anyways, back to
Oh,
topic.
okay.
Yes, indeed. And anyways, yeah, whatever. The point is that the French, they were drinking a lot of wine.
Mm,
Um, but on average, I
technically,
think wine is better than beer for transportation because it's like it's a little bit more concentrated. It's there's stuff. Basically, the Germans, they had beer, and it's like it's not as good for transportation for reasons. So like the wine is a little easier to move around. The British just had
Mhm.
like the thing is the British water tins were often used first to fill up petrol. So they like
Oh.
tasted of petrol.
Oh
So that's why they
no.
had the tea to like cover up the flavor,
Oh.
No.
which is hilarious as far as I'm concerned. Um,
damn. Yeah, pretty crazy though. World War.
Yeah,
oh
bro.
yeah. Oh, here we have it.
That was like pretty
By
wacko, man.
1916. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Went
By
pretty wacko.
1916, the army was providing 12 million hectoliters of wine. Hold on. Uh-huh.
These French
Uh-huh.
people, I
Hold
swear
on.
to
I'm
God,
getting like random ass pop-ups. Um, let me
they're
just
and
F3.
they're French
Hecto. Yeah,
and
here.
they're lying.
By 1916, the army was providing 12 million hectoliters of wine per year to its soldiers. The owner of the Languedoc vineyard donated 20 million liters of wine to the army for use at the start of the war, while France's North African colonies also produced a substantial amount of wine. Yeah, Algeria was producing like huge amounts of wine in this time.
Wow, that's more than I drink in a day
Me too.
of water.
Of
So you know
wine,
it's real. Of wine. Do you not
of
drink water?
hard vodka.
Okay.
Yeah, okay, so the United Kingdom and Australia's policies were more conservative. Commonwealth troops, apart from Muslim soldiers, of course, were given a daily ration of
Again,
rum.
was there any use of
Hmm.
tanks during World War One? Right, there
Yeah.
was.
Yeah,
Probably
they
There's
not,
were
but not like
What type
invented
of
nothing like
tanks? I mean,
huge
the
amounts.
invented
like
in World
big
War One.
fat tanks. They didn't have that thick armor. It was only thick enough to prevent
And
like bullets.
again,
So tank on tank combat was very
FT-17.
rare. But there's like a few scenarios where these British Mark IVs or something went up against the German A7V. The A7V
mm,
was kind of horrible though because its tracks were so small. I think it was built off like a tractor base. So and but like the top part was huge and the tracks were tiny, so it so easily get stuck. The British marks were better because they had the tracks that would wrap around the entire tank, so they could actually relatively comfortably move around like trenches and stuff. Oh yeah, and then there's the FT-17, which is the French like main tank. There's
Which
actually this
like
one really
everyone
cool
used.
story. I don't remember the name of the tank now. It's named after
Mhm.
some meat brand. Um, yeah, but it was like these 4 or 5 soldiers in the Mark IV, I think. I think that tank was used a lot, like towards the end of the war. Um, they were like going towards the German trenches, but then the tank got like stuck in a ditch, and they were there for like 4 days, right next to the German trench, and like
oh,
so they
goodness.
constantly had to like throw back grenades and like stuff, and
Oh my
yeah.
my.
How did
I
they not
think
die?
2 or 3 of the people. I think 3 of them survived out of 5. I think the driver died
Ah.
going
Or
there
four
because
die?
a bullet.
How'd
No,
they have
2
food?
died. What? Oh, they just had food in the tank, but they were running low, I think.
Okay.
So they like crawled back all
Mm.
the way to the British trench, and they had to like wave so they wouldn't get shot either from the British.
Oh my
Oh, because the
goodness.
British were also throwing artillery at the German trenches, so they were in like a crossfire between both German and
Oh my
British.
No
my.
man's land, right?
That
Yeah.
sounds like a cartoonishly like
Oh, Frey
cartoonish
Bentos.
story.
Frey Bentos is the tank, I think.
Freight bentos.
I'm not sure. Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Send
so
that.
just to substantiate those claims from earlier about like the massive growth in wine production, like right before the 1910s in like France, Spain, and Italy. Here's a little bit here. In France, the
They were stuck
threshold
there
for a
for
price
3 days.
collapse. Hold on, let me see this tank. Oh my God,
Jesus Christ.
Jesus. But yeah, so in France, the threshold for a price collapse for wine was 5 million liters of production, like of the year,
Uh,
and production for that year was 6.9 million.
6.9 million.
Ooh.
From
Jesus Christ.
1900 to 1906, the viticulture of Languedoc produced just one province in France, 1,600 to 2,100 million liters. So that's like 1.6.
Oh, they were in the Battle of
Uh,
Passchendaele. They got stuck.
yeah, Passchendaele was one of those big ones.
Yeah,
Big boy.
and they got stuck like right next to the German trenches, if I'm not wrong.
Holy gee, the price of 100 liters of wine dropped to 6 or 7 francs. Okay.
It's really cheap.
100 liters?
100 liters, yes.
Ooh.
Languedoc wine sales deteriorated steadily. Abundant harvest inflated stocks that were impossible to sell. Some drinking places even sold wine by time. The customer paid a fixed price and then drank all the wine they wanted.
Okay.
It's like
It's like
a
a
all you
wine
can
buffet.
drink
Like you
It's
just
a
buffet.
pay.
wine buffet.
Yeah. So yeah, that's just to give you like the idea of like how bad things were before
These
the war.
French were
Yeah.
addicted to wine. Or still are. But anyways.
I mean, it's the land's fault that it lets them grow so much wine.
hmm And then we should probably wrap this up with the good old Treaty of Versailles.
Oh, I guess you could do
Yeah,
that.
ending
Yeah.
of the war.
Ending of the
Let's
war.
quickly go over the Eastern Front.
Oh yeah.
Russia starts up really early, and they do pretty well against the Austrians because Austria-Hungary sucks. Um, so everything's going like okay, and then the Germans get around and they punch Russia in the face really hard, and then Russia's like owie, 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 and then Russia really never gets its groove back, and then basically they just slowly lose the war, and then the
Oh,
whole revolution and all that good stuff happened.
All that good stuff.
Yeah, they have the government get overthrown. There's like a provisional government. Provisional government won't end the war. The Soviets take over. There's a civil war. The Tsar and his family get killed. All that stuff. You know.
All that jazz. It was pretty horrific. The
Yeah.
war.
yeah.
So
War.
we have. Hold on. First of all, we have
War
the
never changes.
Treaty of Saint-Germain-en-Laye, which is a treaty for Austria.
Mm.
So hold
Interesting.
on. Let's get a map of what Austria-Hungary used to look like. Because there's Austria-Hungary was the Empire of Austria and the Kingdom of Hungary.
You bought.
Wow, that's a really small im. Wow, okay, cool, great.
Wow. Nice image there.
That
By the
really
way.
zooms in well.
Oh,
Um,
I can
yeah.
really
High
see the
quality.
details of the map. This is
It's
the
got
best
like a
image.
legend and everything, and you can't see any of it.
Oh yeah.
No,
Oh yeah. This is the
especially
shit.
no.
Oh yeah. Would you guys say this is a quality image?
No.
Okay. Oh my god. I think this one is better. Here we go. Lightly viewable.
Mm-hmm.
So this is what the Austro-Hungarian Empire used to look like before. I mean, this is in 1867, but I don't think it actually changed meaningfully. I mean, they got Bosnia, so like, hold on.
Well,
Come
it's
on.
Croatia,
Why are all the good
Slavonia.
images like?
Is that part of Hungary now? No. Wait.
Yeah, it's a Hungary like back then. It was like a Hungarian managed area. Hold on, I think this is
Huh.
a more in our area of time. Here we go.
Mm.
But now it doesn't tell us which one's Austria, which one's Hungary, which is kind of annoying.
Oh. Oh,
Why
it's
do
Croatia. That
why
was
are the
okay.
maps so crap?
Nicholas, get a better map.
I don't. I'm not the one making these maps.
Oh,
Well,
you
you
have.
could kind of interpolate. Not really,
Empire
actually.
of Austria and Kingdom of Hungary, 1914.
84.
How hungry?
Okay, this gives us a good map, but it's all in German, so you know,
That's fine. We understand.
always
German.
something.
We will
Grung Ungarn.
understand.
Erzm Österreich,
So we're
Königreich Ungarn.
Croatian and Slovakian.
Any
Both
German
mean
viewers, we
It's like
apologize for butchering your language.
I do not
Tirol
apologize.
und
I'm pronouncing.
I
Vorarlberg,
apologize
No.
for Victor.
Thank you.
Salzburg, Steiermark, Krain, Kärnten, Istrien, Dalmatien,
Where's that?
Dalmatians.
Österreich ob der
Mhm.
Ems.
101 Dalmatian.
Österreich
Dalmatian.
unter der Ems.
Where are the
Bosnian
other
and
100?
Herzegovina.
Died in the war.
Königreich
There's 101
Böhmen. It's
islands
interesting
in
that
there.
Bohemia is
Oh.
actually its own
No, I
kingdom
don't know. I
within
don't.
Austria.
So what's happening in this map?
Bukowina, Galizien und Lodomerien.
So
So
what is
Vic,
Tschechen,
Ungarn?
that's
Königreich
Hungary,
Kroatien
Victor.
und Slowakien.
Oh,
That's the
Ukraine.
parts that belong to like Hungary,
That's like
like
Ungary.
counties of Hungary.
Ungarn. Kind of
Mm,
similar.
Yeah.
the
It's the
reddish
whole
part.
structure is really weird because it's all like really feudal. So basically,
And Österreich
the
is
way
Austria,
Austria-Hungary, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
the way Austria-Hungary
Eastern
functioned is that they
country,
had a personal union, which a
Eastern
personal union,
Kingdom,
I think it's
Mm-hmm.
Eastern Realm technically, but
Eastern. Oh
whatever.
yeah, true.
Oh, I remember
But like,
in
so
Finnish it would
basically
be
a personal
Itävalta.
union.
Yeah,
Yeah, Itävalta. East power or east.
Easter
Yeah,
power.
kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, it's like a personal union basically means that like you share a monarch. So they had the Emperor of Austria and the King of Hungary. Those two titles were like owned, quote unquote, by the same Habsburg family.
so
So that was
Franz
kind of the
Ferdinand.
theoretically, well, yeah, basically. Though I mean, others before him for a little bit. He was actually the longest living European monarch
In
until
the
Queen Elizabeth.
world. Oh,
Really?
Who
Yeah, he
was?
was the longest lived one. Franz Ferdinand,
really?
like the longest to be monarch, I think, in like European
Hmm.
history before Queenie.
What?
Yeah, he was really long lived.
My man.
He but yeah, so basically, and he had like a really horrible life. Like his wife got assassinated, and then his son got assassinated, and then his nephew
He
got
also
assassinated,
got
and eventually
assassinated.
he just gave up. He just like stopped caring as the war was raging. He was like whatever, and then he just died in like 1916.
The Franz Ferdinand? Wait,
Yeah, Franz Ferdinand.
What? But he
who's
died.
the guy who
What?
got assassinated?
Huh?
Wait, no,
What?
Franz Joseph. Hold on, you guys are mixing me up now.
Bro, I
Franz
was so
Joseph was the
confused. How
emperor.
did bro die in
Ferdinand is the other guy.
95.
Ferdinand's the guy that got assassinated. He just
Bro
they had
came
because it's
back.
like Franz Ferdinand, Franz Joseph. He just like whichever one you've talked about last is the one that you keep on talking about because like you start with the same name. So it's like yeah, that guy. But yeah, Franz Joseph, the emperor.
Franz
Of
Joseph.
what?
Let's
He ends up
see.
getting like
Of
well
Austria.
Of
technically of
Austria.
Austria only because you're king of Hungary, which is interesting to me by the way. Like there's a meaningful distinction there between an empire and a kingdom. Empires are in some sense inherently illegitimate. Like you've conquered other people, right? Like it's not an
Mm.
empire if it's just your own people. This is why there was never an emperor of Britain. There was a king or a queen, but they were emperor of India or empress of India because they conquered those
Oh.
other peoples, right? So you have that sort of sense of like you aren't necessarily the like the true rulers, but like by right of conquest we have taken this, you know? So the
The fifth
Austrians have a
horseman
very
of the
different
apocalypse.
yeah.
Conquest.
By the definition of this, the Austrians have a very different relationship to their land than the Hungarians do. And this is relevant to this day. There's Hungarians who live in like Romania and some other places who are still like and I think bits of Ukraine and like the Hungarian government is still every now and then because they have a pretty far right leader right now with Viktor Orban. He like whines about Viktor. He like whines about that and he gives those communities
Wine,
lots of money
like the
basically to
French
French.
like
reference,
bribe.
Jinx.
Yes. Basically to bribe them to vote for him and like support him and like kind of want Hungarian unification with their lands. He like sends huge amounts of money to them as like local communities or whatever. It's weird. It's the whole thing. But like Austria doesn't really do that with like any of their former territories because it was an empire. So it's easier to give up than a kingdom where there's this idea that these people are all Hungarians and they all belong, even though of course that isn't true.
They all should
But still.
die.
So yeah, the Austro-Hungarian Empire was kept together essentially by personal union, but as we can tell here, there were kingdoms within these kingdoms, if that makes any sense. Like, for example, within the Empire of Austria, Bohemia uh, seems to be its own kingdom. You see, it's Königreich
Is
Böhmen,
that where
not
Mhm.
Bohemian
like
Rhapsody was invented?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's an agreement, Sai.
So like, and then here you have Königreich Kroatien und Slavonien. That's within the Kingdom of Hungary, but it's still like another kingdom
I
technically.
don't speak Dutch.
The Königreich just means kingdom.
Ah,
Actually, it means King's Realm.
yeah, fix up.
Well, yeah, but you know,
It's the new Minecraft
the
dimension.
translation is not necessarily the one-to-one.
Netherreich.
So you have the breakup. Now let's get the Treaty of Saint-Germain en Laye over here so we can see what happened to these people. Well, specifically to the Austrians first, and then we can do the Hungarians. Actually, hold. Does this map have both? Oh my God, this is maybe a good map, guys.
Holy guac.
Good map.
Guys, is it a good map?
Treaty of
Oh my
Saint
God,
Germain and
it's an
Laye.
okay map. It's a little fixed. Oh, it's actually fine.
Mm.
My goodness.
So yeah, here we get a
Burgerland?
infographic of everything that we need.
Sorry.
Burgerland awarded to
Really?
Austria.
How Americans be
Yep,
like.
Burgerland.
I love Burgerland. It's my favorite country.
So you see here, Austria loses Südtirol, or whatever that bit there is, to Italy. Trento is the big city there.
Mm.
And they're left this tiny little country. They lose Slovenia to a independent uh, Yugoslavia. They lose Burgerland to Hungary, but then I guess they get it back. I don't know, that's weird.
Burgerland.
I think what it's saying is that like Burgerland belonged to Hungary, but then when they were splitting up stuff, they gave it to Austria because I guess mostly Austrians lived there.
Oh.
Um, the kingdom of Bohemia and Moravia, the whole like western bit of Czechoslovakia, now just Czechia, is taken away from Austria, and Slovakia is taken away from Hungary, and they make Czechoslovakia with that. Galicia und hold on, Galicia und Lodomerien is given away to Poland, Krakow, some other nice big cities. You know, it's important Polish cultural heritage.
Me when I
Um,
break my leg.
Bukovina.
Crack! Ow!
Ow! Bukovina over there, little tiny place that goes to what's their face, Romanians, and also
Romania.
Transylvania. So like all of that big chunk
Mm,
of
like
like
like the
southeastern
film,
Hungary.
Like the
Like a hotel?
vampire.
the hotel.
There was a hotel
Yes.
there.
So sorry.
And then Croatia also taken from Hungary. So this is like a massive dismemberment
The lore.
of the Austro-Hungarian Empire.
Dalmatia. Okay.
101 Dalmatians.
Yeah,
All these names
Dalmatia is
have
that bit there.
connections.
Now there's only 100.
100.
Yeah. So that actually gives us both the Treaty of Trianon, which is what Hungary got,
Wait,
and the Treaty of
Giannis
Saint-Germain-en-Laye,
made this
which
map.
is what Austria got.
Giannis?
Yeah,
Oh yeah, he
look.
did. Giannis.
Yanni.
Yanni.
It's pretty close to Giannis.
Yanni.
Get it?
Okay, are there any other relevant maps we want to look at? Oh, we can go to the Treaty of Versailles, actually,
Yeah, let's
now
go
that
to
we've got
Treaty
like
of
a bit of
Versailles.
context for what's happening.
Or can we?
I don't know if because we've already had a lot of time. If
Yeah.
we should go through the prohibition.
No. We should make an extra episode, a follow-up
Ooh.
breakfast episode. for
Aside,
Prohibition.
We
aside,
can do a
I mean,
Prohibition episode
I think
later
with
on
the
if you want.
1920 to 1930, we can include this.
spin-off
But also there's some
episode.
Prohibition stuff there. So yeah, I don't know why the Holocaust Encyclopedia has this, but it's a good map, so I'll use it.
Holocaust was a bit
Oh.
later, buddy.
Um,
So yeah,
okay,
what
it's an
happened with
okay
Treaty
map.
of
It's not
Versailles,
an amazing
lady and gentlemen?
The Rhineland.
map.
Ah, okay.
So that's the demilitarized zone there.
Yep.
The
Demilitarized
Saarland,
zone.
that little like bit there, is
Mm-hmm.
administered by the League of Nations until 1935. They have a plebiscite where they can choose to either become French or
Wait,
German.
should we
They choose
explain
to
the
remain
Treaty of
German.
Versailles first?
Yeah, I
This
think
Well, we can
we should-
explain it as we go through it.
France,
Wasn't Germany lost the
Alsace-Lorraine.
war, guys?
France
Yeah,
wants
believe it or not.
Germany.
That little bit there,
I don't know if unfortunately.
Alsace-Lorraine gets returned to France. Eupen-Malmedy gets given to Belgium, that little bit there. Belgium wanted a lot more, by the way. Belgium actually wanted to take bits of the Netherlands because they didn't fight, like they weren't involved. They were like, can we eat them? and then the Allies were like, "What the fuck is wrong with you?" Um, that Schleswig und Holstein, they gave a little bit of that back to Denmark. And of course, the big one for the Germans, the Polish land. So they gave
Danzig. No.
what's that called? Zaolzie. They give that to Czechoslovakia.
Xylophone.
They give Schlesien to Poland and like the western bits here, all the way from Danzig down to like kind of the eastern hand. That's all lost to the Polish,
Is
and that means
Germany
that it
still
cuts off
larger
Königsberg.
then than it is now? It is, right? Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Germany is the
Or
smallest it has ever
Germany
been
was
right now.
huge.
Holy moly.
Yeah,
Germany
Germany
was.
basically lost its entire like right arm because of World War II. Like, if they had stopped after the First World War, they could have still been like a big boy, but they chose not to.
I mean, Hitler chose not to.
Well, yeah, but you know,
You know how it is.
um, the East Prussia is it okay, really quickly.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, the Germany that exists here was built off the Prussian kingdom, the Kingdom of Prussia, which used to be this kind of weird mix between Brandenburg, which is Berlin and the lands around it. Well, not anymore. Nowadays, Berlin is a separate like thing because it's like such an important city. But like back then, Brandenburg was Berlin and the lands around Berlin, um,
Nah.
and Königsberg, and somehow they had borders with like Belgium and France because they had bits of the Rhineland. I don't know. Prussia had really weird borders.
Oh.
Um, but like basically, Königsberg, East Prussia, was part of Poland, and Berlin was part of Germany, of course. So they had this like a weird double allegiance, and the the king of Prussia, the kingdom of Prussia, was called the king in Prussia, not the king of Prussia, because they were part of the kingdom of Poland, and you
Well,
can't have multiple kings in the kingdom of Poland, so you couldn't be king of parts of Poland. So they were like, it's a really weird feudal thing where basically like if you were king of Prussia, that would be the same as like imagine nowadays if someone was like king of Scotland, but they weren't
Scotland.
king of Great Britain and Northern Ireland. Like they were like generally king, they were just like randomly king also of Scotland. But then like King Charles is also king of Scotland doesn't really work, right? Because they're like
Ah.
Great Britain includes Scotland. Poland
Mm-hmm.
includes Eastern Prussia at that time.
Mm-hmm.
So
question. Do
how can there
those
be like an extra
islands
king?
bordering the Baltic Sea really have a giant wall around them?
Yeah.
Yes, they do. So
Off the
you
Hamburg coast.
Yeah.
yeah, they do.
Giant
You didn't know that?
walls.
It's really big walls, really tall walls. They're like asylums. It's like
Why?
Azkaban.
When did the
Um,
Berlin Wall get made?
Sweden was that bad. They built this wall.
ages ago. No, ages ago to us, but like ages after, if we're talking about the current time.
The
Okay,
Berlin
so
Wall was
basically,
1873, Victor.
no. So
I
basically,
should
the
have
reason
known.
why East Prussia is so important, like culturally, to the Germans is because it was the birthplace in many ways of Prussia as the state that would eventually unite all of this together, creating Northern German kind of culture and
Wait.
I don't know,
Sorry.
civilization.
The Berlin Wall was built to protect Louis XV from being assassinated.
Facts.
But then they
Is
broke
No,
through the
it was
wall
not.
and killed him anyway.
I
is
don't
there
think
a
he got assassinated.
river
He
named
got
Bug?
assassinated.
I think he got
What?
assassinated, guys.
They had to break the wall to bring the guillotine there. It wouldn't
A
fit
river
otherwise.
named what?
Bug on the
Where?
map
Oh yeah, yeah.
Bug?
There's
on the
off of
right.
Warsaw. Like if you follow the Vistula
Oh,
up to
Bug.
Warsaw and then turn right, the Bug River. Yeah, there is. Interesting. But yeah,
Interesting.
Hmm.
so this was a huge
Side, sorry, that's
thing for the
Boo
Germans.
Infinity.
Boo. But yeah,
Boo
because the Germans
Infinity?
are like big
Boo.
losers. They
Yeah.
didn't understand that like they had lost the
Oh.
war and like they need to like give up stuff.
Hmm.
Because the Austrians they did this
Yes.
right, and like that was that. That was the end of that. And the Hungarians did that, and that was the end of that. But the Germans um are whiny little bitches, and they couldn't accept the fact that they lost the war,
You
so they decided to
swore.
blame the Jews and the liberals and the Social Democrats who were put in power by the military government, which was basically running Germany by the end of the war. The Kaiser wasn't really in charge. The military was running the country. And the military could tell, damn it, we're going to lose this war. Let's really quickly give a civilian government made up of leftists power so that we can blame them for the peace and be like, you guys lost the war. We were doing really well, actually. Um, which worked somehow. Um, and there were
Worked
lots
on
of
those
Jews in
fools.
that government. So, like, that's how you get, like, I mean, okay, anti-Semitism has been around for ages, but, like, that's how you get, like, the specific kind of reasons for the revival of it in that specific
Mm-hmm.
time. And the other problem, which has been kind of I guess kind of seen by many people, is that the Allies never actually enter Germany. The war ends before they ever get to Germany. And a lot of Germans were like, "We had never been invaded. Why did we surrender?" Because they didn't know that like everything was going to shit, and they were about to lose the war completely. So, and the Allies also thought that the Germans were in a better position than they were actually in. Like they thought that Germany would be able to hold off on the Rhine River until like 1919 at least. Whereas in reality, Germany was just going to collapse if they didn't like end the war immediately. They had like a
Mm-hmm.
couple months before like complete civilizational collapse. There were
Mm.
mutinies and civil wars and everything was about to happen. Like they needed to end this war immediately. But the Allies didn't know, so they decided to have an armistice instead of just marching on in. And I think if they had actually kept on marching, it would have saved millions of lives because the Germans wouldn't have had that kind of attitude of like, we didn't really lose because their country would have actually been invaded. They would have actually understood like what was happening. But because that never happened, war propaganda kept them thinking, yeah, yeah, everything's fine. And then when there was suddenly a peace deal, and then oh my God, they're taking so much land from us, which not really, but like, whatever. Uh, they were like, "Wow, mean, evil people must be the Jews' fault or something like that because they're all idiot anti-Semites." And that's how you get the Nazis, but that's for later.
That's for next decade. After
Yeah,
next
That's true.
decade.
that's the
Next
Well,
sequel.
next
it's
decade.
also for the next decade.
Oh, true. That's where it
They all
begins.
Yeah.
intersect,
Next 2 decades.
Yeah.
and that's about
I
the
mean,
whole.
look at this peace deal. It's not even that harsh. Like when you look at it, come on.
What? What's the speech? Oh, yeah,
The Treaty of Versailles, like
yeah, yeah.
it's
The
doing barely
map.
nothing to Germany. Like, and yeah, people are like, yeah, but like the the like war reparations. Uh, I'm not so
It
sure
was.
about that
Did they
one.
even pay it off?
There's they didn't pay most of it at all, and there's been some calculations done that if Germany had raised taxes in the same way that Britain did after the war, or if they had raised taxes, I think by 1% overall, they would have been able to
Mm-hmm.
pay it off.
Wow.
But no, too difficult, and a lot of it comes down to the fact that German politicians wanted to keep the debt so they could like use it as a political wedge against the French. Like, look at this
No.
greedy French
Hitler.
making us
Like
pay this
that?
money.
Yeah, it was very
Yeah.
used.
Not that there weren't economic
Do you
problems, there
think? Do you
were,
think World
but
War II
like,
would have happened without the Treaty of Versailles?
um, I mean, if not, well, I mean, that depends on what treaty replaces it, right? Like, if it was a harsher treaty, then I think no. If it was a more lenient treaty, I think probably yes.
What if there was no treaty?
Uh, like, what happens then? Like, what's the effect of that?
Like, I don't know. They just fight until
Like, do
one
they
of
just
them
get rid of
die.
Germany? They just kill all Germans?
No.
That would have
No.
worked.
No one left to make a treaty with? The
ah,
French are like, we don't need no damn treaties, and they just start burning
they
all
just
German
they
cities.
just start like all men unite, go.
I mean,
I
we
mean
we
they
joke, but
probably.
actually the Germans kind of did that on their own side. When the war was ending, the like army knew it was about to end. They
Mm-hmm.
had like canisters of gas, like poisonous gases, still left, and they were like, "Oh no, no, we never had gas shells." So what did they do? They shot the gas cells into Belgian villages,
No. No. Out
and
of
they also
spite.
took all the
Just.
livestock and all the animals, all the dogs, all the cows, everything they could find from Belgium, and took them to Germany. So there was like a massive
No.
famine that was about to happen in Belgium, and the
No.
only reason that it didn't is because the Americans get like free food aid that they brought into Belgium. Like if not for that, the Belgians would have just like died off.
Why Belgium? This is so
because they had more
so
control of
specific.
Belgium
And
than
also,
like
Belgium is
any other
between
place.
France and Germany, so it's like,
Yeah, they're mean. That's it's because the
yeah,
Germans are evil. So like that's the
yeah,
reason why. Um.
basically.
So yeah, like I think
Only
like
a
the
Sith
whole
deals in absolutes.
look. Okay, the time when Germany had genuine economic troubles with the like occupation of the Ruhr Valley and like all that stuff, that was real, the hyperinflation. But then things were good when the Americans started investing, and you know what? The Americans invested 7 times more into Germany than Germany had reparations to pay off. So they could have easily paid off that reparation if they wanted to.
Oof.
They just chose not to. If you're getting 7 times like the money that you have like debt, then and you're not paying off the debt, that's the you problem. I'm sorry. You need to get help for that.
But how could they pay off the money?
Oh,
Because it was so much. It was like trillions, right?
Well, the
No.
Americans could obviously
at
give
that
them that money, so
time.
like I don't know, man.
But then they're just being debt again. What's the difference?
Well, no. That was investment. That was just money they were being given. That wasn't like
Were
like
they
like
being given
like
money,
the
like straight
loans.
up, or was it
Yeah,
investment
that
in
was
like
giving money.
capital and
Yeah, those
They
are
stuff?
were
grants and
they
investments.
were being given money for what reason?
Money.
The
Rebuild, I
Dave, Dawes,
suppose.
and Young plan. These are all things that happened in the like 20s, so we can't really talk about this
Mm,
too much. But basically, the Americans wanted to invest in the German economy because they saw
mm-hmm.
that as being a part of like creating stability. So if you're already getting 7 times the investment that is like the debt money, then you as a national government don't need to be doing that investment yourself. At least not to the same extent, right? So why don't you raise taxes a little bit, pay off the debt, and then just move on, you know?
Yeah.
But no.
No,
And then the
they
Great
used it
Depression
for
happens.
other stuff.
And then things get really bad because the Americans were like they were investing, but there were also actual loans and stuff being given by American banks and like American like businesses. And now all those American businesses were like, hey, where's our money? We want our money back because the Great Depression in America was basically like they didn't have money there, so they needed their money back from elsewhere. And they were like, where's that return on investment, huh? And then the Germans were like,
About that.
and, and and then everything went to shit. And then everyone was unemployed and everything was horrible. And then the Nazis were like, yo, but that's later.
That's later. Anyways, our final conclusion.
Wine.
Wine. Oh,
Um,
that's true. Lots of wine.
wine.
Mm-hmm.
Delicious wine.
Very much so.
Wine.
Titanic happened. Then World War
Uh,
One happened.
the movie
That's
was
not.
recorded.
Yeah, all
Um,
those people really died just for this
what
the
else
Titanic
happened?
movie.
Yeah, big fight happened between humans. That was bad.
Yeah, let's not even get
Uh,
started on the filming of the World War One movie.
yeah, that's not even get
They got
started.
so much footage out of that,
You
That's
know,
and
not even
they
Yeah.
knew that they wanted a
so much
sequel. That's
loss.
why they named it World War One, because they knew it was the beginning of the
Oh,
franchise.
let's not even
Mm.
get started on Tuntematon Sotilas where they go, Edeba, Takaze, Edeba, Takaze.
That's Second World War, Victor.
that's not a
Ah,
reference our
that's why we're
audience
not
would.
getting
Yeah,
started. We didn't even talk about the Civil War of Finland
we did.
Mm.
We said it
We
was
we
like
don't
a
have
month.
the
Very,
time.
for like
very,
It
10
just
very
years.
happened.
briefly.
3 months, fighting between the whites and the reds. The whites
Hey,
win, but
yo.
like they realized that like they couldn't just keep on oppressing poor people forever. So even though like it's interesting because even though like the socialists and the social democrats lose, sort of societally they still end up winning, especially after the Second World War, when
Yeah,
like in the 40s and 50s, like the kind of the rebuilding of Finland and the creation then in the 60s and 70s of like a welfare state begins to happen. So like those ideas don't necessarily go away, but they get sort of suppressed for maybe a good 20, 30 years. And there just isn't that much money. Like Finland was still like very much a developing country by modern standards.
anywho.
Yeah. Anyways,
Anywho, nice episode, ladies and gents. If you've learned
Thank you so
anything,
much
like,
for tuning in.
do something with it. Talk, talk
if
like
you've learned anything, then I'm afraid of like your history education has failed you.
Tell it to your history teacher.
tell it to your
Okay.
history teacher about
Yeah.
Mr.
Do not
Man.
tell your history teacher to show our videos in class though.
Yeah, we say some
Don't
bad words.
don't tell him to show the incest or not challenge. We don't talk about that.
Game
Top.
Not
You should
Tell
challenge.
him
never
to show
ask
the incest
a
or not
man
game
his
show.
salary, a woman her weight, a PFP member. Remember
Mhm.
what the incest or not episode is about.
Oh, never ask a man his salary. Never ask a woman her weight. Never ask a PFP member about the incest or not game show. Anyways, ladies and gents, thank you for watching and hope to see you
Have a
Monday,
splendid day.
Tuesday.
See them on
Tuesday.
Monday, Victor. Tuesday.
Have a splendid
Well,
Tuesday. It's Tuesday when we're recording and releasing this episode.
It's
Trust
Sunday.
me. Shut up. It's
Good
Tuesday.
night.
Bye.
Have
Good
a
night.
nice Friday.